means a lot to me. I think that what I talk about in this book is why I truly, with every ounce, and listen, I get it. I'm very aware of how charismatic and good-looking and charming and awesome I am, but I truly do believe that if people really think about it and really pay attention to themselves and really understand what that thing is that makes them tick, that there's, I see so many of you, and I know so many of you know that whether it's wine or football or street food in Midtown Manhattan, you can tap in and make straight cash and be awfully happy. And to me, the fact that everything I believe in, business-wise, in today's world, was not real 36 months ago, makes me want to scream louder and harder, because I know it takes time for people to accept market changes. And so I wanted to write this book because I know that not everybody watches my keynotes on Vidler or come out to see my curse-laden keynotes in different tech conferences or watch Wine Library TV. I know this is the right message. I know it with everything I've got. It saddens me a little bit that everything I believe in the entire world can fit into 140 pages. But it was very imperative for me to not write a fluff book. I wanted people to get through it quickly and really understand. My biggest goal with this book was, a lot of you kind of know my spiel. You've heard it, but I wanted to go into some of the smaller details within that. And more importantly, I wanted people to feel something when they read it, because I think there's a lot of business books out there, and there's a lot of stuff out there, tons of free content, and I was obsessed with how to deliver something that was worth, $12 or $15 or $20, whatever it ends up being. And that was really the biggest stress I had in writing this book, or recording it, because I didn't write it. I recorded the whole thing. A lot of people have come to me and said, "Oh my God, it sounds so much like you." It's because it's all me. And so it's pretty nuts. It's been pretty cool. As many of you know, that my brother AJ and I have started a consulting company called Vaynerchuk, and I've started seeing the other side of things, seeing brands that are, tapping into wanting to spend money, and realizing how broken their businesses are, how they're completely overspending for eyeballs. How, are you kidding me, television? There's a box in every 3,800 homes, and that has to be a stat? Things are changing, and they're changing really fast, and I'll be very honest with you, I am of enormous belief that even the people that live in this Web 2.0 or social media or whatever the heck they're going to call it in 2 years world have not totally grasped how fast it's really moving. It's moving real fast, and I think next year is going to be really scary for a lot of people, and I guess my biggest goal is to tell people why it shouldn't be scary. See, the funny thing is, I spent a good amount of this book addressing journalism. A lot of people have been mad at me because I've made comments about platforms being dead, and people think that I think journalism is dead. I actually think the people that write, the people that have the chops, the people that can produce video or the written word or audio are actually in a far better position going forward. I completely believe that the platforms in the middle kept way too much of the action. I completely think things are going to change. I do not believe that an agent should get 15% to be your secretary. I don't. And I think that people are going to see it, because once they realize that everybody can tap in directly to the consumer that they want to reach at zero financial cost and start tasting it, they'll see it. The problem is 99% of the people out there don't want to work hard enough. And this book is far from a promise of quick cash and super. I look at things super differently than the far majority of people I know. I was a diehard 4 sports team lover. If you look at my junior yearbook from North Hunterdon High School, represent? Yeah.
Voorhees.
Voorhees?
Yep.
Bitter rival. Most people refer to me as a Rangers fan, even though so many people clearly know I'm a diehard Jets fan. And that changed because they won the Cup in '94. I'm about the climb. You know, I really have no interest in the end result. I don't want it. It's how I built my whole life. It's all about the chase. And that's great. You know, I think I have really lucky DNA because that keeps you motivated and interested forever. I'm all about the chase. So once the Rangers and Yankees won, you know, I now root against the Yankees because I don't want them to take attention away from the Jets. You know, so it's kind of one of these things that for me it's always going to be hungry for the next thing. When I was in baseball cards and I felt like I kind of did it, I moved to comic books and then toys and then wine. It was a weird transition from toys to wine. But I don't know. I don't think I'll ever. You know, the funny part is to answer your question finally. To me, it's about the process. I never lose, ever. Because if I decide to do it, I want to go through it. And I think if more people thought about that, they'd win a lot more. I'm not really worried about what I'm going to get. I just want to go through that experience. And once I make that decision, I've won. Whether it's a good or bad result, I end up learning what I wanted to. We're paying for questions. Big cash. Harper Studios is putting out like $50,000 a question. Yes, sir. Congratulations.
How do you feel about Barry Diller talks about this? It's nuts that people don't pay for content in this era. How do you feel about these? I just read today in some article, you know, listing a bunch of internet entrepreneurs, and one guy said, you know, we haven't figured out how to make money yet, but we are. And I thought that seems ridiculous for a business. Safe.
Yeah, you know, my whole take on all this is that it's so young, right? I mean, the internet that we all know, you've heard me say this to a lot of you, it's 14 years old. I know for all the tech people that are much smarter than me, I know it goes back further than that. But I'm talking about the one that went, you know, that whole thing, when AOL was sending, you know, DVDs to our house every day, that was '94. I mean, I don't think people have truly respected the youth of this whole thing. Of course every other platform's in big trouble. This is a big deal. This is a total game changer. I think that it's all about one thing. What it's been always and what it always will be. We'll always be in the eyeballs business, and more importantly, you make money when you have supply versus demand. And when you live in a world where we have internet platforms that allow 9 trillion people to write content, content's value cannot support the demand. You know, the demand is high, but there's so much of it that the cost has to collapse. Now, if you have content that people want, you can sell it. Anybody who's doing a business right now, you want to listen. I've thought about for months, years, charging 99 cents an episode for Wine Library TV on iTunes. You know, I knew that I would lose 90% of my audience, but I also said to myself, could make $10,000 a day. You know, Wine Library TV. So you think about those things. You know, I decided not to go there because I believe that interaction and what I do, you know, almost everybody that I know in the triple Z list celebrity internet game thinks I'm an idiot for the way I scale my personal brand. Like, none of them think I do it right. Nobody. Because they think that, you know, I get too low into the trenches. Like, why worry about somebody who has 7 followers? It's just not how I'm wired. I don't believe that. I think that caring and customer service is the new economy. And I think everything we do, selling books and all this, do you know how many people are going to buy this as a thank you? Most. And that's just the economy I think we're going to. So, you know, Barry Diller is a brilliant guy and has been massively successful. And, you know, I don't want to take what he said out of context. I don't know. I think there's plenty of content that can be monetized if you want to go there. But you're going to limit your audience. I mean, people got this book, you know, in advance. There was people, you know, long lead magazines got this book. They could have easily scanned it and put it on the internet for free and it could have been out there, right? Music leaks all the time. we always hear Jay-Z moving up his album 3 weeks because it leaked too fast, right? I mean, that's always going to happen, which comes down to what I believe, which is if LeBron and Jay-Z and some of these other people actually gave a crap more about their fans, they'd be 50 times bigger, as big as they are. And I think that's going to be the game, because people are going to give people that they like money, not who the machine that makes us all like certain brands and things is changing. The water cooler movement is over, people, because when you come in Monday morning, everybody watched something different, and that's going to continue to happen more and more and more. And so there's a lot of economy and changes of business that are going to happen within that. And I don't think that people... See, the problem is everybody wants to run. Everybody cares about what's going on right now. There's a crap load of people in here that are... How many of you are retiring in the next 5 years? Raise your hand. Nikki, bring it. Yeah? You hope.
No, it might be 4.
4? Fair. I mean, I'd rather you take my limbs apart than ever retire, because I like the game, right? But some people want to retire and do that thing. But here's what I know. If you're not retiring in the next 5 years, you better pay attention big time to what's in my book and a whole slew of other pieces of content out there, because 5 years ago, are you kidding me? Do you know what 5 years ago looked like? No Twitter. Facebook was probably still the Facebook, and there was like 3 schools there. 5 years, we all know how much is going mobile, right? I mean, so much is changing. So, I want to be a reactionary businessman. If I wake up tomorrow and I see a product that I think is changing the game, like a daily booth, and we believe in it, if I think what's going on right now with the Google Wave thing is really important and needs to be understood, because I'm not a hyper-tech nerd, and I know that email is still practical, so I just want to scratch what I see. Hard. Yes, sir.
I was surprised when I found out you were releasing this book on Harper, because I figured you could pretty much write an ebook that sold for $10.
Yeah.
And
kept all the cash.
Kept all the cash.
Screw Harper.
Fuck Harper.
Right.
I'm just saying. They need you way more than you need them at this point.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is a couple things. If I felt that, I would never do it. Right? I'm not here to give out charity. There's Harper Studios has an attractive back end, right? So that was attractive to me. I'm not getting 15% of the back end, right? So that was number one. That was interesting. Number two, there's still a lot of people that are not going to buy an ebook. And at the end of the day, I want to be heard, not I need more cash. And that's it, because I know what I wrote in here. And I don't know if I'll get lucky, because there's always a little luck, right? There's always a little luck to be that book or to be that message. But I know it's right. And maybe I'll have the mainstream appearances and the websites, and somebody will tweet it right, and something might happen, and maybe not. But what I know is I'm trying really hard, probably annoying all of you that follow me on Twitter, but I'm willing to take that loss. I know stuff. I'm willing to take that loss, because I know I'll round those people back through hard work and caring. But for now, I'm desperate to get this out there. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of infrastructure, right? The retailers are not going to carry, the major retailer, they could, right? And they would, but I didn't want, I was willing to give up that piece of the pie for them to do what I thought they could do. More importantly, I believed in the people I was working with. I really liked them. And I really felt like it was worthwhile. And listen, I signed a 10-book deal. I'm very aware of what the world's going to look like, or what I think the world's going to look like in 5 books, right? It's not, for me, it's definitely not about the cash. It was a good enough deal. I felt good about it. And more importantly, I feel like they can deliver on enough to make me happy. But it's a great question. And a valid one. Yes, dear.
My hair talking?
Is your hair talking or you talking?
It's a second it'll be in.
Okay, I'll take it.
I'll be the writer. Okay, so a lot of websites and things are trying to get writers to write for free. Like there was
Huffington Post and
Yeah.
On and on and on.
Yeah. So I was doing this lanemovies.com, and they're all about
lanemovies.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote some stuff on there, and they're all about like, well, if you can advertise your own stuff on there, put,
They sell you the platform and the exposure.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I feel they're right. I feel like if you feel like it's right. Here's the funny thing. Everybody yells about the Huffington Post and that model. No, there's no Huffington Post monster coming up on writers saying, if you don't write, we're going to eat you. I mean, people make decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do a lot of things where I don't monetize for the betterment of growing my brand. So it comes down to what you think is right. I think it's a very legit business model, and if people want to leave it, then that's fine, and if people don't, that's fine. Listen, Blog World's going on right now, and everyone's like, oh, come to Vegas Blog World. He's not paying speakers. It's the same thing, right? He's keeping all the cash.
Yeah.
So, I think it comes down to everybody's a big boy and girl, and you're running your own businesses. Do you want the exposure? Fine. It's going to cost you the writing. They built the platform. They pulled it off. Now, does that leave them vulnerable to somebody who can do the same thing and maybe give you a cookie? Probably. So it's scary when you give zero, because it doesn't take much.
Well, they say, like, whatever advertisers come to your page or whatever, they'll pay you based on that. There's
Right,
a lot
that's
of that.
17 cents.
Yeah.
Right? Or it could be more on big platforms. I don't know,
Yeah.
lanemovies.com, so
I mean, that's just one example.
I think it's more about the brand equity if there's serious traffic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi.
Where do you live?
I live in Springfield, New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Right by the wine library. WineLibrary.com.
Excellent customer service.
Thank you.
So, so you've done a tremendous job building
Agreed.
your personal brand in the context of Wine Library, for
Yeah.
sure, and now you're extending it, of course, with the book. For, I guess, as I run an agency that does a lot of work with brands, and so we have brands, like corporate brands.
Like, let's say maybe like HBO.
Right, or anyone else. Is the closest they're going to get to crushing it, like gently squeezing it, like because they're not really like they're not
Slightly pet. That's
right.
my next book.
But how can they learn from this? Because it's not just like one person with a passion; it's a lot of people with lots of different passions.
But you know what the funny part is? It is one person with a passion, and that's what's interesting to me. The problem is that one person is the CEO, right? It's the DNA of the leader. There's a lot of big companies that can win. They just are in a big CEOs, especially media companies. They have too much to lose right now. They're tied. These distribution deals, these legacy deals that are paying them tons of cash. And so what they're doing is, here's what really gets me angry about the whole thing, is there's a lot of people working really hard for big businesses out there, and there's a CEO that's there for 3 more years, knows that they're going to fully vest, cash in, right, and saying to themselves, I know where the world's going, but I'm not going to take us there, because it's not in the best interest of me personally, because I don't want the stock to tumble, and I'm just going to ride this out for 3 more years. And then what happens, that's how businesses go out, right? And so when you don't make decisions for your personal life, for your personal business, for the business that you're running 3 to 5 years in advance, I'm not looking for a 5-year plan. And I definitely just, this is where I'm being a contradiction again. I'm all about being reactionary. But what you have to be reactionary to is that tomorrow you might have to change the entire course of your company. For entrepreneurs, that's easy. We wake up in the morning, we look in the mirror, we brush our teeth, and we're like, I'm going to do that crap, right? For these big companies, they're massive, right? They're just massive units, and it's real hard to move. And it takes 3 years. And by the time they're in, they're like, we're here, and everyone's like, we're gone. And the problem for them now, more than ever, Ian, is that everything's moving so fast, and eyeballs are shifting. And that's the whole game. The whole game is, why in the world would you buy a bus stop ad when everybody sitting in the bus stop who used to look at that ad is looking down at their handheld? You won't. And so there's just cultural. When culture changes, big money moves. Our media consumption culture has changed, and it's going nowhere. I was in a meeting where somebody said, God, this was great. I think it's coming back to newspaper. I think this is a fact. It's going to come back. The amount of vomit that built up in my mouth. I mean, I was like, yeah. And I'm going to be riding a horse and buggy down Fifth. I mean, seriously? Why don't we just watch 13 channels while we're at it? I mean, so I understand why people do it. It's never fun for me. I'm not happy for people that are getting hurt, that work their butts off through school and work 25 years to climb the corporate, ladder and are now in a position to kind of finally bank in, and now everything gets flipped upside down. I don't like that. But honestly, the people that are crying about that, people are like, Gary, you don't understand. It's not fair. I did all the right things for 25 years. It's my time. It's not fair. I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. Here's what's not fair. You're talking about business and money. How about the Holocaust? How about bombs? How about crazy shit that matters, right? How about life? You're worried about cash. How about all the people that worked their whole lives, 14 generations of families building up businesses, and armies came in and killed them all? That's bad. This you just have to adjust. You have to buy a book and read it. But the bottom line is, it hurts, and I get it. Listen, it happened to me. Do you know why this is happening right now? One reason I'm here. One, because wholesalers have lots of money and they pay off politicians. I would have been just happy building the biggest internet retail wine company, added food later, would have been thrilled to be mentioned amongst the Amazons and Zappos, and would have done that. With my pops, and AJ probably would have came into that too, and it would have been awesome. But I put in every minute of my life for half my life, and woke up one day and said, I'm done. I can't win. I'm not going to win. The retailers that are aligned with me are too small. We have no national players. These guys have tons of cash. I'm never going to ship wine to Boston. I'm dead. I can't do this. I'm not buying the Jets with a local New Jersey liquor store. So it wasn't happy for me. My mom's here. She knows. Plenty of crying on my 30th birthday. Not fun. But I didn't cave in. I didn't give up. I didn't say, this sucks. I just changed my game. And that's what I want people to do. Yes, sir.
If entrepreneurs are getting more passionate and you're bringing more passion to us, does that mean there's a paradigm shift in how people are operating as employees, being self-employed, entrepreneurial? That's not about the money, it's about what you're building, and that's more important.
I think our society evolves. The question is, are entrepreneurs caring more about life than cash, right? I don't know. I mean, every person's different, right? I want tons of cash because I want to buy the Jets. I wish I didn't. Honestly, somebody said something pretty awesome to me the other day. He's like, dude, you did something pretty bad. I'm like, what? He's like, you're the only person I know that could make $1 billion and be widely considered a failure because you weren't able to buy the Jets. I was like, geez, that's a good point. What I think is that it needs to become a personal. What I think is this, that we've been sold that by the machine that you need to go into the corporate world, and if you want to make money, you got to make money. But if you want to do what you love, you won't make money, but you'll be happy. But boy, that sounded ugly. I'm of the firm belief that the most money you can make going forward because of this absolute platform shift is to do the thing you love the most. Johnny, who's a lawyer and making $150K, I'm convinced can make $200K talking about the Dodgers in 9-10 years. So if Johnny's willing to do that after hours instead of watching Lost, instead of playing Nintendo Wii, if he's not happy, then do it. If you're happy, knock yourself out. But don't be sad when you get let go because the economy of the world we're living in is changing and you're out of a job. And so for me it's like desperation alert, yelling, screaming of, hey, pay attention to what's happening, build a little nest for yourself, build a little something on the side, after hours, about the thing you like. You will be blown away. I have a friend, Mike Playa. He loves the Islanders and the Yankees and the Jets. The Jets, the Yankees part is good. The Jets and Islanders break the poor kid's heart. I'm a firm believer that if he created content with the passion he has around those things, he would be more successful than the ticket thing he does for a living. I believe it with every piece of my heart. The end.
So follow-up, how do you then keep your energy up to keep your passions going?
Your energy is up to keep your passions going because what people haven't realized is you don't need Red Bull. You don't need anything when you're doing the thing you love the most. When you were a kid, you didn't get tired. You know why? Because you wanted to throw that ball against the wall for 19 hours. You know what I mean? And that's what I do day to day, and that's what 99% of people don't do day to day. And I never believed that that was going to be possible to everybody or anybody except a lucky few until I truly started seeing what was happening, what the internet really... I mean, the internet is the single most underrated thing of all time. Right now, every person in this room, and I would say 99.9% of people on this universe are dramatically and obnoxiously underrating the internet. That's what's up. Yes, sir.
How much money do you have?
How much money do I have? How much money do I have? Millions. But nowhere close to buying the jet. Not even close. Yes.
How you doing? All right. Quick three-part question.
Yes, no, Jess.
Were you at the Miami game?
No.
Will Sanchez Edwards be bigger than Brady Moss?
Yes.
How much sleep did you get last night?
4. Let me get, yeah.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay.
There are 1,000,001 opportunities online. Is what
Wake up the
learn.
dude next to you, because I'm really passionate here.
There are 1,000,001 opportunities online, right?
Yes.
And multi-level marketing, selling books, whatever.
99% of the things you're thinking about right now
Yeah.
are quick, rich run schemes. And nobody wants to work. And that pisses me off. This country, and every country that has success, anybody, individual families, nobody wins on SEO and a landing page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand what people think is real. We've become real soft. And it became real obvious to me last fall when everyone's like, it's the Great Depression. Nobody was outside eating food out of the trash. You know what I mean? We're soft. So what, you couldn't have a 52-inch screen, you had a 44? It's ridiculous. We're soft. And I think a lot of the stuff I see on the internet are promising people quick, fast cash. And 2 ways they monetize, while finding a quick scheme, and then Google changes its algorithm and you're dead, or you're leeching off people. It's so wrong. It's not even funny. Leeching off desperate people. It becomes this desperation ladder, and it's disgusting. And it's a part of society, and I get it, but it's ludicrous. And I truly believe the light of this transparency and social media in general, people are having a much tougher time hiding. And when things like Facebook Connect become our true identity on the web, you're gonna have a real tough time hiding. And I think better days ahead for that, for me. Thank you.
What's up, Gary? Barrington Day here. Quick question about...
Barrington, you always look so sharp. You can't get out of here. Bill Belichick in it. You're like Pat Riley.
Thank you, I think. I love my game. I appreciate that. I want to follow up on the transparency question and just how much, or you obviously think things are really different now. But we've been through a lot of really different moments in our history. We've had game-changing technologies and social movements. Why do you think now is actually different versus the promise of difference in the past?
I think it's a great question, and that's because you're one smart guy. Because I think the single most powerful thing in our society is media. I love how I was born in Belarus, and I grew up mainly in America, but I always talk to my parents about Russia and things like that, and not that they told me so much, but you could see it on their face. I love how we think we weren't brainwashed, or that we didn't have, media controls our thoughts. Things can happen very quickly, and to me this is big because the engine. Listen, with all due respect to Walter Cronkite, honestly, he had to beat 3 other people to be the best. Now, there's been 2,800 wine shows that have launched since mine has. I've had to hold off all those suckers, right? It's a different thing. It's all back to that water cooler moment, right? If we're all watching Who Shot JR, well, when we were watching that commercial, we're like, oh, where's the beef? Got it, right? You can't do that anymore. It's just so spread thin, and I think there's so many voices. It hit me when I started realizing Wine Library TV's numbers. I was like, if 50,000 people are watching this for a half an hour, that means 50,000 people aren't watching something else on TV for a half an hour. And there's a lot of me's. So, to answer your question, I just think it's getting shattered. The voices don't carry the weight they used to. And there's probably some bad things in that too. There's always a bad to a good. But I think that the way we think now, there's a lot more voices that we can attach onto. Plus, no agent or gatekeeper makes the decision. I didn't fly to LA to get discovered. I sat in my office and did my thing, and everybody can do that, and so that's why. Yes, sir.
What's the biggest mistake you think most e-commerce sites make to, in the wine business? How did you game change all the other people who had e-commerce sites selling wine?
I think the biggest mistake that everybody business makes, whether it's e-commerce or not, is they get very confused about customer service and caring. That's how. You know how we won? Because every time somebody had a problem at Wine Library, we took care of it. Whatever it took. And we had a tricky thing because of laws. Can't sell below cost.
Right.
Kind of sucks when somebody says, in Texas, they're selling for $13.99 and you're $16.99. We paid $16.01. So you're like stuck. You're like giving people like free bread, and I'm like carrying them to the car. I'm trying to be like creative because, exactly. So we won because we were better than everybody. We understood that price mattered. We understood that customer service mattered. We understood that selection mattered. I met with a very serious executive early on in my career, and he said, Gary, you show a lot of promise, but you really need to learn the business. You've got to pick 2 of the 3 things: customer service, selection, and price. You pick 2 of the 3, you'll be successful. This is like the highly most respected guy in our industry at the time, and still to this day. He left, and I'm like, that guy's an asshole. I was 19. I was like, he doesn't get it. And then when I got a big feature in the Star Ledger, 3-pager, I had the quote in there, and he sent a letter saying, I think I know who you're quoting. Congratulations. It was a good moment. I like zinging people when I run. Yes, sir.
What's the biggest mistake you've ever made?
The biggest mistake that I've ever made. The biggest mistake I ever made. So I'm on this whole tour, and I'm always having to answer this question, and I hate it because I come across like a jerk a little bit. I'm not quite sure. I tell you, the biggest mistakes I've ever made are clearly things I didn't do. Back to loving the process. I feel so good about my decisions. Listen, to be really transparent with you guys, I've questioned a lot of times, going into the family business. Me and Pops have had a lot of battles, and we both lost a lot in a lot of ways. But I would never give it up because that's how I got to know my dad. Without it, I wouldn't. And so, in a lot of ways that was, and it wasn't. And I think there's a lot of things like that. Listen, I very much could have been on television by now, in a big way. And maybe I made a mistake. Maybe having a bigger platform, there'd be 40 trillion people here, right? But I don't know, I feel good about my decision. I always do. I'm very decisive. 5 minutes after I dropped Lizzie off after our first date, I called her and said, crazy, huh? Basically telling her, we're getting married. Just who I am. I'm decisive. And I'm not joking, like 3 minutes after I dropped her off. Like, she barely got back into the apartment. I just know. That's who I am.
What did she say?
She was weirded out. But she knew. She knew. I think that I'm very decisive, and I own my decisions. And if they're wrong, as many of you have seen in different places, I'll own up to it. I'll own my decisions, because we're humans. We make mistakes. You got to own it, and that's that. So there's a lot of you. I'm going to sign a lot of books, I think, unless a bunch of you are posers and not buying the book. And don't give me that bull crap that you bought it somewhere else. You need to buy one here. Laugh harder. Listen, guys, honestly, I really want to sum it up with what I felt. I mean it. Please do what you love, because all of you can have the feeling I have right now, and the feeling I have right now, it's big time. I just want to thank all of you, for me and my family, for coming out here. The support is over the top. What's that? Oh, question one more. You want to get it in?
Yeah, any advice for new entrepreneurs?
Any advice for new entrepreneurs?
Buy the book.
I'll give you a good one. I'll give you a good one.
140 characters.
140 characters. Intern and mentor with people. It blows my mind that people are willing to pay $80K to go to bullshit college when they're entrepreneurs. Other things deserve it, and plenty of things needed. And I know you grow up and you do all that stuff. Get it. And then are like taken aback that people who built $100 million businesses want them to work with them for free for a couple of months. It's the best thing you can. I want to do it right now. I want to go work for a minor league baseball team so I can learn the sports business. It blows my mind on that. So I would say, look at the people that you think are the best out there, and cold call and email, smoke signals on the roof, whatever it takes to get their attention, and get in there, get into that house. Because what you learn, being surrounded by people that get it and make it happen, is priceless. And the system has us backwards. I'm telling you it does. People are going into massive debt, and it's interesting. So, I would say to go and learn and find thought leaders and people that have accomplished things in your industry and work with them. If it costs you. I remember Conan O'Brien, when I did the Conan O'Brien show, they sent me a check in the mail. And it was a really interesting moment. Like, I got a $600 check or something in the mail for sorry, Lizzie, how much? 150?
No.
I have no idea. Fallon sent less, let's put it that way. I was blown away. I was like, that is the most insane thing of all time. I got paid to do Conan? I would have paid a fortune to be on it. And that's kind of how I think about entrepreneurs. You know, there's a lot of people you can go work for and learn a crap load, and you should have paid them. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm here with Gary Vaynerchuk at the launch of his new book, Crush It. Here it is, Crush It. Oh, there it is. Crush It at the Time Warner Center. And Gary, you have had a great launch day. Yeah. Thank you. But this is live video, man. So, in 1 minute, what would you like to tell everybody? What would you like to say? What would you like to offer?
That I'm less special than people think.
Okay.
See, everybody thinks that I'm over the top and charismatic and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
What I am is I'm aware of how much the media world has changed.
Right.
And I'm very, you know, as a poker player, I'm willing to go all in. So I was willing to work really hard in a different platform than a lot of people.
Right.
And it's very obvious to me that other people can do it. I did it with wine. People can do it with football, cycling, gardening, and that's why I wrote the book, to kind of give everybody the blueprint of how I pulled it off. And no BS, no bullcrap like fantasy dreams, all that horse crap that I hate. This is hard work, 15 hours a day.
Right.
You know, sweat equity. But the fact that platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and YouTube and all these things happen, and that business can be built on them, it's a special thing. Everything I believe in wasn't possible 3 years ago, and that's why people don't believe it yet. But they will.
Very good. Thank you, Gary.